Sarah has now the good except for the loss. I thought we were going to play a lot. How was the weather? Not bad. But yeah, good touch.
Yes. Guys, you can pull down on your buttons if you're gonna turn these on.
It's not 6 o'clock.
All right, I have 6 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. Jessica, roll call. Lind. Here. Mullen.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Donnelly. Here. Hampton.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Husinga. Here. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda? I also approve. Second.
Second.
Jessica, roll call. Lind. Yes. Mullen.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Donnelly. Yes. Hampton.
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Husinga. Yes. All right, first thing up, we have our student spotlight. Ladies.
Abby, there's a microphone on there, and if you just would flip the switch on the bottom, you're live.
My name is Abby Blunt. I graduated from Mount Pleasant High School in May of 2022. Since then, I've been at Iowa State studying elementary education, where I'll graduate from there in May. And I'm super excited for all the opportunities that we've had, and Callie and I are going to share about those today.
My name is Callie Barnett. I graduated from the high school here in May of 2023. I'm currently studying elementary education at Culver Stockton College in Canton, Missouri.
So one of the opportunities that Callie and I have had in the Mount Pleasant School District that we'd like to talk about that got us to where we are today is some of the work-based learning experiences. And then the first one that I'm going to talk about is the Foundation of Education course that we took with Mr. Rogers in high school. This class gave us kind of got our feet wet. We were interested in elementary education, So getting this dual credit through SCC also prepared us for college courses and gave us a look at what the foundation of education looked like. And so that played a big role in knowing that we were in the right path. And then we also did work experience, which Callie's gonna talk about that.
So our senior year of high school, Mr. Rogers also provides a work-based learning program where a couple hours a day we're able to go over to the elementary school, and we were able to have, I actually had Samantha Freeman and Janet Lee. I did 2nd grade and 5th grade, just to kind of see and be active in the classroom and make sure that, that's what we wanted to go to college for, that's where we actually wanted to land. And just kind of see that grade difference, the classroom difference, the environment of the classroom management, and just things like that, so we could see the differences as we went in and see, maybe what we wanted our future classroom to look like and maybe what we didn't want it to look like.
I also partook in that. I was in 3rd grade with Miss Dunn, which fortunate, I am now student teaching with Miss Dunn, and she's in a 4th grade placement or 4th grade classroom, so I'm excited to work with her again. Both Callie and I are in 4th grade at Van Allen right now, student teaching, so it's super fun. She's with Mrs. Maynard, and our classes are paired together, so we get to work together as student teachers along with Mrs. Maynard and Miss Dunn, we're just over a weekend, and we've learned lots, been through a lot of different experiences, so I'm excited for the rest of my time there as well. I will spend until March with Miss Dunn and at Van Allen and learning all about Van Allen. The teachers, everyone has provided different experiences and resources so far, and it's just been a great environment. And then I will finish my student teaching in New Zealand, and I'm super excited for that.
I am fortunate to spend my whole entire semester with Mrs. Maynard at Van Allen in 4th grade. It's been a great start so far. She's been great with communication, great to answer all of my questions, and she's been great to answer and explain all the things that the district is moving forward with, like proficiency scales, curriculums, and just things like that. That we actually went on our first PD day on Friday when we came back. So she's just been super great to work with and just explain everything that they're doing now, but things that they're implementing in the future. Another thing that I wanted to touch on real quick is the opportunity that Abby and I both had, is we didn't go to a 4-year school for 4 years. I only went for 2, she only went for 3, because we were given the opportunity to take classes online through Southeastern Community College, which is a great experience for both of us. We really found that we wanted to do elementary education, so we were able to have our school counselor plan classes through SCC Online, that we could get a transfer degree in elementary education to transfer anywhere that we wanted. That would lead us down a path to get us to where we want to be quicker, make it more efficient. So that's how we were able to get it done so quickly. And also, it's just been a great opportunity to take those classes and have that foundation as we moved on to college.
I would just say that I'm excited for the rest of my student teaching experience. It's been kind of a full circle moment to come back and student teach in my elementary building. So that's super exciting, and I'm excited to see what we can learn in the next couple months of student teaching. Any questions for us?
Do you guys want to end up back in Mount Pleasant?
I am not opposed. It is definitely on my radar as one of my options that I would like to apply for a position in this district for my first year.
I would say definitely to start out, I think my biggest thing was I wanted to come back to the district to see, what grade alike was, because we had never been introduced to that, as we didn't have grade alike when we were in elementary school. So I think being introduced to the whole grade alike thing and seeing how that works and, liking that, I think definitely coming back to the Mount Pleasant district would be a good option for me, I think.
I also like that we do departmentalized for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I've subbed a lot since being in college, and not every district does it, so it's cool to see what other districts do, but I really do like the departmentalized, because I enjoy math and I enjoy the science, so seeing the math and science and social studies and literacy split up is something that I like, because I can focus on that math and move the students forward in the math aspect.
So are you both interested in elementary education more, upper, or?
I'm interested in, I can teach up to 8th grade math, but I'm more interested in 2nd through 4th-ish.
I'll be certified in K through 6. I am interested in elementary, probably that 2nd through 4th grade range too.
If a kid named Jack gives you a hard time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate you guys coming tonight, and it's very informative. I'm sure, Mr. Rogers is here. He finds it, gratifying as well to see his students becoming everything that they can be as classroom teachers. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations, getting through so quickly.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on to citizen comments.
No one contacted me to speak to the board.
Next, we have approval of minutes, claims, and financial report.
I don't know where you want to start. That's
fine.
This one?
Sure. Okay, so this is as of December 31st. So we're always reporting on the month prior. As you can see right here, this is what I wanted to point out tonight. Revenues in the student activity fund are already almost 75%. And that is indicative of where we are in sports, right? Because we have had all of the football revenue, the gate revenue, and we're halfway through basketball. So this is right on target where we should be. If you go over here to the expenditures though, 42% of the budgeted expenditures is where we sit right now. And that is because we still have all of the spring sports to go, kind of your non-revenue earning sports. We do obviously have gate revenue for track, but baseball and softball, but they're not as large as the football and basketball. So then, you see your management fund, which again is where we pay our insurance out of. We're right on track with all the rest of the funds and expenditures. So right where we need to be there. And then this is our year-over-year report that I kind of like to study every single month. If we go all the way over here to December last month, we were at 8.8 million in the general fund. We went up to 8.9 million, and we have risen. We have gained a balance in every single fund with the exception of capital projects fund. And the reason that we didn't gain in capital projects is we had a $314,000 payment to Gene C. Wiley for the transportation maintenance and receiving. Otherwise, this is the reason that we increased instead of stayed or decreased a little bit is December is a very short month. So when the students and staff are gone, there's not a whole lot of spending going on. So this is very, very good for where we are in December. And then there was one thing that I wanted to mention tonight. The legislative session started today in Des Moines. And one of the things that is positive for school districts is starting this year that came out of last year's legislative session, professional development money and early childhood intervention money will now follow open enrolled students to the districts that they're attending. So before it was only the state aid, and then a few years later, it's probably maybe been 5 years that teacher leadership has been able to follow the students, but now we also have professional development money and early intervention money that also comes with the students. So for us, right now we have 127 students open enrolled into us. So we also we're going to pay it going out, so it's kind of, a balancing act, but it is some increased revenue that we didn't have an opportunity to have before. So that was one of the great things that came out of the session last year. Any questions? Good with that?
We had a lengthy finance meeting. We did, so I think we're good on that. Motion to approve minutes, claims, and financial report.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Flint,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Hustenga.
Yes. And moving on to reports. You guys are up. Mrs. Freeman and Mr. Klopinski.
Oh, just now? Okay.
We have gifts. Or am I gonna say anything about it? You're our favorite presenters already. Oh, no. Now, don't fight over what color you get, okay? You get what you get, and you don't, okay. It's not a dead mouse.
Can everyone hear us okay if we just talk like this without a microphone? Thank you.
I would, however, we are
For
live
streaming?
Live
Oh,
streaming,
okay.
yeah. Just flip the button on the bottom.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We are the talented and gifted coordinators of the Mount Pleasant School District. I am Samantha Freeman. I serve kindergarten through fifth grade students at all the elementary buildings. So I serve at Salem, Van Allen, Lincoln, and Harlan as well. I have a dual kind of programming. So I have what's called enrichment services, and that is for our students who maybe just need extension beyond their core curriculum. And then I also have a secondary program called PLUS. It stands for People Learning, Understanding, and Searching, and those for qualified fourth and fifth grade students. And that looks a little different depending on whether it's fourth or fifth grade, but it might be a half day or full day service. So there's about 22 kids that serve in the PLUS program, and it fluctuates, but as of today, I serve about 81 students in the enrichment room, so a lot of kids.
I'm Mr. Klopfenstein. I do 6 through 12. I'm the taller one with a better sense of humor, if you need to know that for future reference. I serve about 72 in the middle school, and about 84 in the high school. And we'll go through these topics you're about to see in the next slide. We're going to kind of give you a brief overview of what we do for identification, services we offer, student benefits they get from being in our program, and some challenges that we may be faced with the student person.
Okay, so the basis of our presentation tonight, we thought, what would you want to know? And so we felt that it would be best if we thought of what questions were frequently asked, whether it's from stakeholders in the district, parents, even students. So we have a few bullet points, and this is basically what we're framing our work around today. And then also, these have been the driving factor for the work the two of us have been doing. Last year is when we both took on these new roles. And then currently this year. So these have been like our driving questions for the work that we do.
So from our standpoint, talented gifted kids, they exist all over in our rhombus square. Ms. Freeman and I, actually about him twice, John, really want to focus on the individuals here that we serve. In regular classrooms, they can get some assistance. We do above and beyond what they get in the regular classroom. So we focus a lot on tier 2 and specifically tier 3.
It's a rhombus. Don't ask Angie about that. Okay, so the first section we're going to do is identification. This is a common misconception we have within our district. Oftentimes we hear, sadly, parents say, my kid's gifted, or my kid was in talented and gifted last year. And so we have this mindset in Mount Pleasant that's once in, always in. And so we're working really hard to change that mindset. That way we're serving kids who need to be served when they need to be served.
So at the high school level, if anybody's big into statistics, I want to talk about this at a later date, I use a Z-score. It allows me to take longitudinal data, the more tests and test results I get with raw scores. I can create standard deviations and drill down much more specific. It allows me to disaggregate our math from our ELA, so I can truly find the kids that are really at the top that would need more and more and more challenges and opportunities. It gets kind of a lot, but the main illustration is I'm really looking for the red kids at the far extremes that need a lot more push challenge for where they are and where they want to go.
Okay, identification for the enrichment services. So who that is our kindergarten through 5th grade students. Kindergarten, since they're like our emerging learners, they're more on a consult basis, whereas our 1st through 5th graders, they do get weekly enrichment from myself 1 day a week. It's typically a small group setting. It varies on the size of the space I have available. But that does look like once a week for a minimum of 20 minutes. Ideally, we'd like to do 30 just with transitions and getting adjusted, but we work with the master schedule to make 20 minutes work. So in order to be placed in enrichment, we have established some policies and procedures which can be found in our Talented and Gifted Handbook, which as of 2 weeks ago is finally done and updated. Snaps, please. Thank you, yay, okay. And so we actually have policies and procedures for both what that looks like in math and what that looks like in literacy. And we're really trying hard to partner with the other policies and procedures that we have in the district as far as like our attendance goals, our proficiency scales, and we're just trying to make everything blend together so it's a natural piece. On the plus side, which is the identified 4th and 5th grade students, there are a lot more pieces that go into this. We use what's called a Renzulli checklist. We use teacher input, and then we use a lot of data that goes into this matrix. You can see that we look back at historical data, so all the way back to 3rd grade, 4th grade, and if they're currently in 5th grade. And then just as a whole, we start placing kids who are similarly scoring together. So plus is all content. It is specialized like you saw with the tier 2 and tier 3, but we are hitting all the core subjects such as literacy, math, science. In addition, we also do a lot of critical thinking. So that's kind of different from the tier 1 classroom side.
The next one's a lot of services we currently offer, and we're trying to always make these more policies, more procedures, more opportunities. So as kids are coming with needs, we'd like to streamline them and standardize them so other kids can take advantage of that as opposed to constantly blazing the same trail over and over. So if you look at the slide, these are a lot of the tier 2s and tier 3s we have by grade. We won't read them all to you, you have access to them, but if you ever have questions, you know where we work, you have our emails, come find us. But we're trying to just catalog them so even if you have a kid, a student, and they ask, oh, my kid's tier 2, what does that mean? We get, here are some things that could benefit your particular student.
Also important to know that this isn't going to fit for every single student. So we really evaluate the student themselves and try to give them what they really need and what's going to fit best with their learning. So it's not a one size fits all. Okay, and then that's not our presentation.
It's a short version. Dr. Butler presented a challenge to me to, in essence, create an entirely new elective type course. You will see this. I used this book with Jen Slagle on an inquiry-based learning, which hopefully gives kids a lot more engagement when they get to dictate the terms of the class that they are interested in. Mostly high school kids want some more choices for electives. They want some more autonomy, and they want relative courses that they are interested in. So I've been designing a course they can take kind of independent, high autonomy. They can pursue what they want. I'm their accountability partner, and at the end, in the dream world, they present something to some of you guys to showcase their learning they did through that semester.
Okay, that's so a lot of times we get what does it matter that your kid's in tag? Like, what do they actually get out of it? And so we thought maybe we'd address the benefits of being in the tag program. And we thought it's actually falls perfectly with the mission that we're working on with Portrait of a Panther. We work on goal setting and support, appropriate challenges, being with like-minded peers, and the one we really liked was the fact that they get to explore their passions. So we try to encourage them to explore their passions. Oftentimes they're so constricted by what the curriculum says they have to do, and they don't get to explore beyond that. And so we feel like our tag program does a great job of allowing our kids to basically express themselves in meaningful ways. We also have a long list of other ways that it benefits the tag program, but again, we're not gonna read all of this to you.
We're just gonna do the short version. We have a particular student who's got a fun goal. They want to go to an international soccer college for a semester. So they are attempting to graduate as early as possible to take care of this semester and have this wild experience and then jump back into collegiate soccer on time with their peers. So it's kind of a fun challenge. They come to me and are like, this is what I want to do. And it's my job to be like, that's a lot. Let's figure out how to get it done. The student challenges, Ms. Freeman and I both, in order to get this endorsement, have to spend a lot of time with psychology of gifted. A lot of times their brains work wildly different. They're atypical anyway. So then their brains see things and operate atypically. So this is one of the teaching models I use. Diagrams, you can bring this up. I like cartoons because they're relatable to kids. It's very easy to talk to kids about their current issue using some of these known characters. Overexcitabilities are an easy one. Lisa Simpson's very intellectually overstimulated. If you know her, she's deep into the nerdy book stuff, and that is who she is and what she's about. And sometimes kids go too far. The Powderpuff Girls are psychomotor. They have to move, they have to touch it, they have to feel it, and if they don't, it doesn't work. They like, fighting and touching and running. And the other one is Charlie Brown. He's an emotional overexcitability. He's very sympathetic, empathetic. By the way, that one's getting dated. A lot of the middle schoolers don't know that one anymore. It makes me feel old. Anxiety from Inside Out 2. It's very easy to talk about that character. Is that character driving you today? Well, maybe, but they can see an example. Mulan, a lot of these kids struggle with identity. Who am I? What am I about? This two-faced kind of thing. So we navigate some of those conversations. And then Turning Red is very much of perfectionist and or meeting other people's expectations put on them, people pleasing. So we deal with some of those. How do you become who you want to be and go where you want to go?
A lot of our job is we don't just focus on the academic side of the student. We really try to look at them as a whole person and as a human. Just how do they go about their day-to-day lives, and how can we support them beyond just a textbook? So. Okay, then also we often get asked a lot of times for more resources for these kind of students. And so we wanted to make available some of our most commonly used resources. So the Bell and Blank Center, that's through the University of Iowa. We partner with them for some of our coursework and testing that we do as well. They have a plethora of resources available. ITAG, we are both members of the ITAG Foundation, and it has resources for teachers, administrators, parents, students, everybody. Hoagie's Gifted is a website that also has all of those resources. The Davidson Institute, and then the NAGC, the National Association of Gifted Children, and that is actually where a lot of our standards for the gifted program derive from. So. And then we want to leave you with a quote and hope that it really hits home and helps us on our mission of changing Mount Pleasant's mindset that these students are gifted all day, every day, not just 20 minutes on a Tuesday afternoon and then they're normal the rest of the week. So remember that gifted students, they're gifted all day, every day. So what are we doing for our kids as a team? Okay. Here's our information if you want to get a hold of us. There's more. Did you know that koalas are even more lazy than cats? They don't have much energy, and when not feasting on leaves, they spend their time dozing in branches. Believe it or not, they can sleep for up to 18 hours a day. Do you know why they sleep for so long? Are you curious? Okay, I'll give you a hint, but then the rest is up to you to find out. It has to do with the leaves that they're eating. Okay, to spark your curiosity, we have gifted you with your own pet koala. Don't feed him the leaves though, okay? All right. Yeah, it's yours. You can keep it. Name it what you want. Cody koala, cutie koala. Okay, any questions? Talented and gifted?
You alluded to size of your group depend on the space that you have.
Oh,
Is space an issue? I
Yes.
take it is.
Yes. Okay. So with our Plus program, it is a full-size classroom, and so I do have the need for a traditional full-size classroom. That way, I can not only hold fifth graders who are larger than kindergartners, but the materials and the supplies and everything that comes with it. Currently, I have been relocated to Lincoln Elementary, and so that looks like fifth graders who are placed with first and second graders. And so it's a little harder, not so much as the space side, I know that's your question, the space, but just the age grouping is a little different, so recess and lunch we're still kind of learning that. My enrichment rooms at Van Allen, I do have a small space, but I'm now limited to only 6 people to be in there, so I've had to cut back on the number of students I can actually serve. As far as the other schools, I just share common areas, like the music room typically is where I go, and so we just work around our schedules to make sure that the room is available.
Thank you.
Any other questions, further questions?
Yes, Samantha, so do you
Yes,
spend,
I serve your student, yes.
and I'm very appreciative of that, it's an awesome program. Do you spend a day at each school then, or what about travel time and logistics?
Yeah, logistics. So let's use today as an example. So I serve students at Van Allen in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I try to give myself a little bit of prep time. But on Tuesdays, I'm at 2 buildings. Wednesday, I'm at 2 buildings. Thursday, I'm at 1 building, and Friday, I'm at Salem, and then PD. So yeah. So yes, there is travel time.
And then Jeremy, what about your time between the middle school and high school? Do you have a percentage of each?
My current philosophy is if we can organize and do the standards work at the middle school, the foundation we can start building on. So I'd probably say 75 to 80% of my day is there working with those teachers and those kids, trying to get that in order. Over here, the kids are really mostly only available across the board 8 hours. So I make it a point to be here at a minimum that much time when they're available by appointment with me to work on what they need to work on.
Yeah, that's good to hear about the high school time then. I didn't know that.
What is your goal for kicking off this Portrait of a Panther Caps class? It's a second semester, right? So
Well,
in another week?
In theory, we have to do a little bit of paperwork to approve it. That's above my pay grade, so I'm teacher of record. In a dream world, I like to pilot it with 3 to 5 kids, kind of either they've expressed interest or I think would be successful at it. I'm sure there are bugs in it. I'm not perfect the first time designing it, but get some kids in it to try it out and give me some feedback and sharpen it and hone it and make it a little more relevant to where the kids want it to be. And then hopefully by next semester or next Christmas, it will be open to all.
And then you say they'll present to the school board what they've learned.
Generally speaking, I always use, we have a lot of kids, like, I say nerdy kids, I like to encourage kids to be nerdy. So I ask them, like, what are you nerdy about? I love the kids that are very nerdy about things we don't teach, like computer programming. So a lot of kids are doing that on their own. They're reading books and doing incredibly nerdy things, and they love to show me, like, look at this game I programmed. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Why aren't you getting credit for that? So I'm hoping if they have a passion project, they're fired up by the inquiry, they do the work, I can share it with community members, school board people, businesses, somebody that would be able to critique them appropriately in an industry-specific way to get them to be fired up about what they're fired up about.
What other types of things are you aware at this point? You don't teach it.
I have some kids in the past who've done Eagle Scout projects, and they're pouring hundreds of hours into something like that that we could help them get credit for. I have other kids that have very kind of, I don't want to call them simple, but sometimes when I'm working on this, we're like, maybe they just really want to learn how to play golf. They don't know how. So they find a mentor to teach them, and they're working on those communication skills and, interviewing and learning whatever it is they're interested in learning. And then they present it to the right people and have a big, I call it like defense of a thesis. A little bit of pressure and a little bit of, did that answer the question?
Do you still have the talent and gifted contest that students can go to?
You know what I'm saying? I gotta get rid of this
Yes.
microphone. I'm working on that a lot since COVID. Some of that stuff has went away. Because sponsors and organizations have stopped doing it. So some of those inroads are gone, and I'm trying to get them back. One thing I know we're working on actively is the math bee for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We're working on that one for the spring right now and registering them almost as we speak. So yes, we just got to find more opportunities.
And at the elementary level, we take place in the Noetic math competition. It's a national competition. It is based on their grade. So my 4th graders last year competed nationally against other 4th graders. The 5th graders competed nationally against other 5th graders. Not this current year, but next year, we're hoping to enter the Battle of the Books competition. The current 4th grade plus group is very literacy oriented and driven, and so that's their jam. So they're gonna take part in that next year. That's at the elementary level.
Do you still do people fair? It
No.
used to be elementary.
We're doing passion projects, and so that will be something at one of the future board meetings for the student spotlight. We're gonna have the plus students come in and they're gonna showcase some of their projects for you.
Good, otherwise, if you have a presentation day where you're doing them for other members of the school district, please feel free to invite us. Some of us are retired and have more flexible.
We do
schedules.
also have an open house night in the spring. Usually it's late April, so yeah, we'll share those details with you.
And what are your other ones? So we heard about space. Are there other needs or wants that you would like to share with the board? You're still too new to be continued.
We'll get back to you.
Okay,
We'll think about it with our koalas.
excellent. Anything else? Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you didn't know, Samantha Freeman, there were 9 regional teachers of the year this year. It was the first year that the Department of Education decided to recognize one teacher from each AEA or community college region. And so congratulations, Samantha Freeman, as a teacher of the year.
Next up, you have the superintendent's report.
Okay, what I'd like to do is the first thing in the superintendent's report is an update on the facilities master planning progress. We did go through this at the site committee meeting on Thursday, and I told the committee that I'd like to go through it as well at the board meeting. We've had 3 main committee meetings with the leadership committee. The leadership committee is made up of, sorry about that. Make this a little bit bigger so people can see. This is the leadership committee. Our couple of board members, Director of Buildings and Grounds, our Director of Finance, our elementary principals, elementary teachers, have a high school teacher. The one person who's on the leadership or the internal committee, who's not with the district, is Ryan Duffy at the rec center. And then of course we have our architects from SVPA, Vitus Bearing, and then Damian Spillman from SVPA, and Carl Nelson Construction Company, Dan Culp. This large group has met three different times. We've had a couple of smaller meetings for specific facility conversations, and I'll share that with you a bit as well. But that's the group that's met. I thought the best way to go about this, the best way to do this would be to just go through the notes from each meeting. And so that's what I will do. I won't go through the notes, every bullet point on the notes, but I did try to highlight a lot of the conversation that we had. But these are certainly on the website. They're on the website as an addendum for this board meeting. And so if you want a copy of these, you sure can go to the website for this. So our first meeting was October 23rd. What we did at that meeting, we just went over some background. How did we get to where we are today? And so we went all the way back to the October 2021, the facilities assessment report that was done by SVPA, and we spent a little bit of time there. And then through the initial master planning that we did back in 2022, kind of the change in direction a bit, I would say, with the closure of the former Iowa Wesleyan University buildings. And so that's what part of that meeting was just going through the background to get us to where we are today. Then we focused on the Central Campus Master Plan, the goals and the visions. While the master plan itself is larger than just the elementary programming and larger than just the central campus, it is a large portion of the plan. 95% of the plan is discussing and planning for what is our elementary programming and elementary facilities, what are they going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what are they going to look like, and what does the district want to see? So that's what a lot of the conversation has been about. So the first bullet there, to consolidate and to provide new and or modernized elementary school facilities. The master plan will study relocating elementary school programs to central campus. We will evaluate if budget will allow for one centralized elementary school or if programs will be split into two attendance centers, one on central campus and the other at one of the existing elementary buildings. We had discussion about that, and the consensus was that if an existing building needs to be used, the consensus was that Van Allen would be the first choice and Lincoln would be the least desirable. We did discuss pros and cons of closing, consolidating Salem Elementary. Salem serves grades K to 5. The enrollment has been declining, resulting in smaller class sizes. Salem does have strong open enrollment. 20 to 25 of the students are open enrolled. We did recognize that closing Salem would have a major impact on the town, and as it relates to a referendum or a vote, the potential of losing votes in that area for a bond referendum. Discuss the travel time for teachers, for specials, staff is a challenge, and no area for counselor or nurse or isolation space. And for the last few years, we have not had a pre-K section at Salem. We talked about how do we maximize the opportunities to repurpose and efficiently utilize central campus. I won't read through each of these. We talked about each of the buildings: Howe Hall, the Student Union, the Chapel, Old Main, and then the original PEO building and the Wesleyan offices. We did discuss the option for an early childhood center program, daycare and early childhood. There is strong demand in the community for additional child care programs. So we discussed that, what's currently available. The school district has discussed, the possibility of creating a new early childhood center. And we've discussed this at length with Matthew Barton. Matthew is the the president of the board of the current Mount Pleasant Child Care Center. And so they have expressed interest, we have expressed interest in partnering together to operate out of a new location. We did discuss in the first meeting, we did discuss high school improvements for Wisdom Quest and an agriculture education classroom. With the construction of the transportation, buildings, grounds, central receiving facility, that facility will open, will transition over there this summer. And so the one thing remaining at that current site there in town would be Wisdom Quest, the alternative high school. So we discussed that and confirmed the desire to relocate Wisdom Quest to the high school campus. We'd like to get those students closer to resources and curriculum here at the high school. We discussed Maple Leaf Athletic Complex improvements and the south property across the street from Maple Leaf and uses, potential uses for that property. We talked about competition soccer. We also discussed that there is a desire to study what an indoor-outdoor practice or indoor facility or a kind of a field house project, how that could work in the master plan, and where that would be located and could south of Maple Leaf be an opportunity for field house. We discussed community engagement and the community engagement process leading up to a potential November 2025 bond referendum. The district has had some preliminary conversations with the Donovan Group. It's a public relations and communications company. The Donovan Group had actually suggested that school leadership develop a list of priorities and preliminary project recommendations prior to holding community input meetings. And so this is what we have been working on for these last 3 meetings. We did go over demographic trends at each of the elementary buildings, and those are listed here. I won't go over all of those numbers with us here tonight, but again, this document is certainly, it's located on the website if anyone needs. Oh, sorry about that, Josh. If anybody would like the document. We talked about feedback, or we discussed teacher feedback on how the transition this year has gone from neighborhood schools to grade-like attendance centers. Talked at length about that. We did discuss at this October meeting that we were only about 8 weeks into the transition, and everybody was still getting used to the change. We then transitioned to current concerns and deficiencies related to instruction and curriculum needs. The committee members were asked to list the top 10 teaching and space needs challenges within your existing building. And again, I won't go through the entire list. Again, those are available. But we had significant discussion about that. We were then asked to list the top 5 to 10 environmental challenges in the current buildings, from temperature control, ventilation, lighting, natural daylight, access to power, access to data. So these are the notes on that conversation. There were comments on the accessibility for those with disabilities and how that is a challenge, can be a challenge. We discussed building security or building code and life safety concerns. So accessibility and building security was a topic we discussed at length as well. We did discuss the current operational costs and the maintenance and the facility upkeep issues. Again, this was mainly focusing on our elementary programming. And I think that's how we wound up our October meeting. We met again on November 12th, same group, and we really started to dig in and dive into enrollment sizes, and then what does that mean for classroom sizes, numbers of classrooms, spaces that would need to be available. And so we did that. For current numbers and for future master planning. Again, as you can see, we dug into, master planning should include 6 kindergarten classrooms. We'd like to limit the size to 20. First grade, talked about 5 rooms, 6 rooms. Master plan should include 6 classrooms for grades 1st to 5th. Preferring classroom sizes of 20, a max of 24. So we did review the early childhood center enrollment. Matt Martin was able to give us the current enrollment at their facility and the staff ratios that they are under, or that they have to meet, the staffing ratios that they have to meet. We then moved to project funding sources. How would we pay for a project like this? We came up with a total project budget of somewhere between available funds or potential available funds between $35 and $40 million. To get to that amount, we would be looking at a general obligation bond that would generate $25 to $26 million. That would be at a tax rate of $2.70 per thousand to generate $25 to $26 million. In addition to that, we could bond against our SAVE revenue or our penny sales tax revenue for an additional approximately $11 million. Excuse me, and we also have some cash reserves, as Jessica just went over in the finance report. We have some cash reserves there as well. This approach to getting to the $35 to $40 million, it preserves our PEPL funding, our physical plant and equipment levy funding. It preserves that. It doesn't touch the PEPL funding, and it also preserves a portion of the annual SAVE dollars or the penny sales tax dollars, because we do spend approximately $1 million each year on projects, updates, just any repair that we need to do, and it would preserve some cash reserve. The current school tax levy rate this year, fiscal year 25, is $12.23, and that has dropped from $14.05 2 years ago. So then we talked about funding, and then we moved on to elementary schools and central campus strategies as we move forward. We talked about Salem Elementary, and is it possible to maintain if operational staffing and expenses are viable, or if they're close as current, and consolidate that into this project. The consensus amongst the committee was that Salem would need to be closed when enough space is available in town. The conversation then moved on to consolidating all pre-K to 5 at Central Campus, all renovations and additions in one project budget. The concern was that this option would not be feasible from a budget perspective. The order of magnitude of a project to relocate and have new construction on Central Campus and renovation was estimated to be between $45 and $60 million. And our project budget was in that $35 to $40 million range. We then moved on to the conversation about consolidating pre-K to 5th grade to 2 attendance centers, one at Central Campus and with new construction and renovation, and then the other attendance center at Van Allen Elementary. The consensus among the committee was that this was the preferred and the more feasible approach, given the dollar figure that we were looking at. The preference was to have pre-K, kindergarten, and 1st grade at Van Allen, and then 2nd to 5th grade at Central Campus with new construction in a 1st floor, 2nd floor configuration, with 1st and 2nd grade on the 1st level, and 2nd and 3rd grade on 1st level, and then 4th and 5th grade on the 2nd level. Van Allen, currently it's our largest building. Van Allen has 18 classrooms, and potentially we would have the early childhood center addition at Van Allen. Preliminary feedback on repurposing plan options, repurposing the Howe Hall and the Student Union. Howe Hall is, of course, where the gymnasium and the athletic support space is. We did review central office location at either the 1st floor or the 2nd floor of Howe Hall. We had renderings for both. The 2nd floor option was eliminated due to security concerns. We talked at a higher level about review of the pros and cons of central office at Howe Hall on 1st floor or locating on Old Main, the 1st floor of Old Main, and a rendering was done of that as well. That was presented to the site committee, and the consensus was that Old Main was not a good spot for central office. The consensus was that homeschool assistance program makes most sense at the chapel, and it makes most sense at the lower level of the chapel, and central office would make most sense on the 1st floor of Howe Hall. We had open discussion on optimal elementary school teaching space and amenities. We talked about flow, transition of students, that we'd like to see more small to medium breakout size spaces. Some of these like the ideas of learning pods and preserving as much of the feel of the campus, the natural feel of the campus as we could. And again, as I mentioned, the committee liked the idea of a 2-story building with 2nd and 3rd grade on the 1st floor and 4th and 5th grade on the 2nd floor. The next steps then were a space needs program and a precedent study, what, enrollment, what are we looking at for the needs that we're going to have. So we did, again, I won't go through all of these numbers, but we did look at the current number of students and numbers of classrooms that we would have potentially in the master plan. I did highlight here that we did, our preference would be 20 as a maximum. Certainly in first and second grade, that would be preferred actually in all grade levels. We went through the early childhood center space program as well. And then this was included as well. If you're reading this, the 10-year elementary enrollments, the total enrollments, if you can follow the shaded areas back and see where they were at each previous year, the number of students in the grade level. In 2014, we had in grades pre-K through 5, we had a total enrollment of 972. In 2024, a total enrollment grades pre-K through 5 of 840. We met again on December 12th. We did discuss at that meeting some of the other parts of the master plan other than the elementary programming. We talked about high school master plan priorities, the relocation of Wisdom Quest. We discussed relocation at the last, that discussion, we had significant discussion about relocation of Wisdom Quest at the site committee meeting in December. The consensus was that we want to proceed with moving to the high school site soon, and would we go ahead and do that outside of the plan of the scope of the master plan. And what that meant was that it potentially would not be part of the referendum, that $35 to $40 million, if we could do that with the reserves that we currently have. Open to either a standalone or an addition, who's more cost effective, to go with a standalone building of about 3,800 square feet is what we landed on. We talked about of an agriculture classroom. There's room to the east of the high school near the garden, and the ag instructor would like to see some kind of an outdoor learning space or a greenhouse out there. So that was part of the discussion on how we could potentially move forward with that. Again, the Maple Leaf Athletic Complex improvements were discussed, the south property acquisition, again, talked about the competition soccer field, indoor practice facility, and where that might best be located. We reviewed early childhood center programming and Van Allen improvements for grades pre-K through 1. And see the bullet here, we will set up a separate meeting to review space needs programs with the early childhood center director and staff, which we did early last week. We talked about that facility, is it going to need a production kitchen, and decided that a production kitchen is a want, and it's probably beyond the budget that we've set forth. And then we also talked through preliminary pre-K through 1 grade concept plans at Van Allen. Where does first grade go? Where does kindergarten go? Where does everything go? We reviewed central campus renovations and additions for grades 2nd through 5th. preliminary concept plans for the renovation of Howe and the student union. We did discuss the idea of new construction, moving the connection point of any new construction to a bit further east, so that new construction would align with the main north and south corridor as it currently exists at Howe Hall. We discussed bus drop-off and pickup and how that could potentially come through the main south entrance of Howe Hall. And we also discussed the possibility of parking and access on the east side of Howe Hall, and that would include a demo of the old PEO building, which could be removed to provide good space for parking. I did include this, so that was the end of our third meeting. Our next leadership committee meeting is scheduled for January 22, Thursday, January 22. And they will have some potential renderings of these concepts at that meeting. On January 2nd, we did get together and we talked about Wisdom Quest. And again, at the December site committee meeting, the decision being reached to move Wisdom Quest to the high school. We need a plan and a preliminary budget estimate to confirm the decision to proceed with the board before the board makes that decision. We'd like to have our building trades students, our student building trades program involved in that construction. So any planning would include that and involve the student building trades programming as being involved with that construction. Were that to be approved by the board, construction would start in September of 2025 with a completion by May of 2026. The preferred location is near the north staff parking lot, east of the high school, and west of the service drive. And SBPA is going to do a test fit, which they did give me a rendering of that last week, which I can share with you. Again, I mentioned this Central Campus Master Plan. The general consensus is that central office should go into Howe Hall, North Level 1, and the Homeschool Assistance Program in the lower level of the chapel. We need further study on the campus site as it relates to proposed pickup and drop-off, vehicle circulation, parking. The question was asked, will this support the plan to demolish the old PEO building on the east side? And then we reviewed a proposed schedule, which I'll take a look at, or well, scroll to in just a second here. And the idea of wanting to start the conversation with the board soon about the engagement of the Donovan Group for communications, which I have made that contact, and we're going to have some initial conversation this week. These again, I won't go through these. These are documents that were included in part of the Space Needs program. But I did want to take a look at the design phase schedule, the calendar for this. Here we are tonight, January 13th, and as I'm finishing up the progress report and community update, the idea would be to have preliminary master plan options to review with the leadership committee on January 22nd, and then do the same with the school board at the school board work session. It'll actually be a special session to do that 2 weeks from tonight on January 27th, and to take a look at some of the renderings that they have come up with. From that point, that will be turned over. The designs will be turned over to Carl Nelson Construction Company for preliminary budget estimates and options, and then present that to the leadership committee. Update and refine the master plan based on feedback. Give a progress report in March, and then the community engagement and informational meetings starting in March as well, with the idea of having a bond referendum campaign in November of 2025. Okay, all right. The next thing that I have then on the superintendent's report is the transportation facility progress update for you. We met last week, January 9th, had a progress meeting at G&C Wiley. The bus garage, and if you've driven by, you can see there's good progress that's happening. In the bus garage, the walls are being built. In the bus barn, the mezzanine is built. The plumbing and the electric is going very well. It's going very quickly, fast. Mechanical is probably 3/4 done in the bus garage. The steel stairs to the mezzanine are going to be going up in a week or so. They are getting ready to insulate and sheetrock by the end of the month. So they're trying to get things closed in a bit so that they can have heat in there and begin the sheetrock process. And they're also, again, as per that last comment, they're getting close to getting those overhead doors in. They're hopeful to have all of that done by the end of the month. The buildings and grounds building, which is the structure is up. They're ready to put the roof on and the siding of the rest of the building. They're very hopeful that by the end of the month, they will have that complete. And then central receiving, as of the end of last week, the posts are being set. The roofing and the siding should be done by the end of the month. And there was a number of updates. One of the things they mentioned was that the gas line is run to all 3 buildings. They just need the meter. They're getting very close to getting power, electrical power to all 3 of those buildings. I wanted to give you an update on the December revenue estimating conference. On December 12th, the revenue estimating conference met. They estimate what the state revenues are going to be for the coming year. And so that would be fiscal year 25 for the state. Of course, our fiscal year is a bit different. We're already in fiscal year. Our fiscal year 25 actually started July 1. But I wanted to just take a look at this real quickly, because with the legislature gaveling in today, one of the things that they'll begin to talk about is school funding and what state supplemental aid will look like. So the committee for fiscal year 25 agreed to decrease the estimate of the total revenues for fiscal year 25 since their last meeting by $85.3 million. That's, again, compared to their October estimates. So with the revision, the 2025 general fund revenue amounts are estimated to be about $602 million lower than the fiscal year 24 amount. That's about 6.2%. And so this is the number. The number, I'll get to it here, but The December number is the number that the governor has to build her budget on by state law. We won't talk about 26 because there's a lot of time between now and 26. But you can see here the December revenue estimating conference, the estimates for 2025, about $9.15 billion as revenue for the state of Iowa, which is down from that, from fiscal year 24, down $602 million or 6.2%. The revenue, while the estimates don't show growth, the state's balance sheet is in very good condition. At the end of 2024, the state general fund surplus totaled over $1.9 billion. The taxpayer relief fund totaled more than almost $4 billion, and reserve funds totaled approximately $960 million. So the state financially is in good shape. Really, the result of everything that you read, the result of the revenue decrease, so that $602 million is based on changes in the tax structure in Iowa and income tax changes, that 3.8% across the board income tax. So we'll see how that all plays out in the coming days with regard to state supplemental aid. I want to give you a legislative update. Dr. Butler and I met with Representative Jeff Shipley on January 7th last week. We talked about a number of things. One of the things that we discussed was cell phones in class, the use of cell phones during school. With a number of school districts, they believe that the governor will propose, there will be some kind of a proposal to ban the use of cell phones pre-K to 12. So our recommendation to Representative Shipley was that with a number of school districts going cell phone free over the past year, Mount Pleasant recommends a task force from the DE to look at and collect data to assess the impact before making a statewide decision. We had this discussion at our last School Improvement Advisory Council. The consensus was that no cell phones pre-K to 5, no cell phones in the middle school, and responsible use at the high school. That was our SIAC committee. That's our large committee, about 42 people, parents, students, and district staff as well. Dropout prevention, which we're going to talk about tonight. They talked about removing the cap from dropout prevention. There is some real inequity in dropout prevention across the state. I just put here, our cap of dropout prevention is 2.5% of the regular program dollars, and it generates about $330,000. The lion's share of that money, that allowable growth, is used for our Wisdom Quest, our alternative high school, and for ACE Room programming, IJAG programming. But there is some inequity on the cap. We're capped at 2.5%. A similar district, Oskaloosa, is capped at a rate of 5%, and there's some different reasons for that. But they would be looking at equalizing that cap, and so a district like Oskaloosa generates about $850,000 compared to our $330,000. So. Of modified supplemental amount. We talked about the 4-day school week, or we didn't. Jeff brought that up. Representative Shipley brought that up. At the legislature, there are some strong opinions against it. There are some opinions for it. I guess we haven't talked specifically as a board how you guys feel about that. But I know there are opinions both ways out there on a 4-day school week. School start date, as most of you know, August 23rd is the start date that's in the code of Iowa. You cannot start school before August 23rd. And the issue that comes up this year, they set that relative to the ending of the state fair. Well, the way the calendar falls this year, the state fair ends on Sunday, this coming year. The state fair ends on Sunday, August 17th. And August 23rd is not till the following Saturday. So you have a full week in there where you potentially, could get a few days of school in, but you can't start. Obviously, you can't start before the 23rd. You can't start on Saturday, so you'd be looking at starting school on August 25th. And for us, it just doesn't. We'll do whatever we have to do, but August 25th, you'd be in school for 2 days, and then because of the way the calendar falls, we would let out for the Old Treasurers Parade, and then go into the Labor Day weekend. We didn't have conversation about the support staff dollars. We received approximately $52,000 for that last year, and we did pay it to our support staff in retention bonuses. We talked about the change in AEA and gave them feedback on that and the relationship between the district and the AEA. We did not discuss teacher pay. We didn't discuss bus drivers. We had a pretty good conversation and significant conversation on school safety and school resource officers. He asked how our programming is going. We shared that it's a very positive program for us, and that we would like to see some kind of a state mechanism for funding additional school resource officers, including a state school resource officer academy. So lots more to come regarding the legislature. Those were the things that we discussed with Representative Shipley last Tuesday. The next item in the report there is Apple lease meeting. We have believe it or not, our 3-year lease is up at the end of this year. So we need to make some decisions as a district, as a board, what direction you want to go with our Apple lease program that provides our laptops for our high school and middle school students and our iPads for our elementary students. So we have an initial meeting on January 21st at 10 a.m. I would love it if 1 or 2 of you could attend that meeting if you were available on January 21st. So we can talk about that afterwards. But I think it's just good to have you guys at the table right from the beginning. The January 27th special session, what we're going to do there is, as we went through that calendar on the master planning, Vitus and Dan Culp will be here to go over some of the concepts and the renderings and where we're at then and how we're going forward. And I appreciate it, Derek. Thank you for pointing out to me that the day on the Hill is, those dates are wrong. It's actually the 27th, the evening of the 27th, and then the day of the 28th.
Right, that's what's on their website.
Okay, well, thanks for pointing that out to me. So I know, Mike, you were interested, Derek was interested, and if you're still interested on that Tuesday, or if anybody else is, I can certainly get us registered for the day on the Hill. So,
yeah, I'd like to go on that Tuesday.
okay.
I would go on Tuesday.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Yep.
Next, we have board committee reports. The notes are there in the agenda. Anybody want to elaborate on anything? I wanted to start, I know later in new business, we're gonna talk about the employee early retirement, and in the, which meeting did we talk about?
Finance.
Well,
we talked about it in both policy and finance.
oh, yes, that's true. It's a semantics thing. I wanted to make sure that, that we're communicating. We're not offering early retirement. We're not trying to incent, teachers to retire. Qualified teachers are hard to find. So we're not, that's not what this policy is about. It has to have that wording in order to, take funds from the management fund, but the early retirement means that by placing your intent to filling out your paperwork that you're going to retire, then allows us to do some extra things with paying out sick time, which is what the policy we're going to read and hopefully pass tonight. So it's not incenting teachers to retire earlier, it's incenting them to give notification, and then we can pay out some of their sick days that they've accrued. So just wanted to make sure that that we know that we don't want teachers to retire unless they're ready to. This is just paying out their sick days, but that's the nomenclature that needs to go with this policy. Anybody else? All right, other board communication?
Yeah, I've got a few things. So first, I'd like to report to the whole board that Melinda and I went and toured Lincoln Elementary on December 11th. Thank you to Ashley Hoyer for hosting us, giving us a tour of the building. And I've got my notes that I handed out to all the board members here tonight about that. One positive thing to get some parents involved at Lincoln is called the Lincoln Right-Hand Man, where parents can come in for a day and spend the day in different classes. And I'm planning on doing that on Thursday when my son is also there in Mrs. Freeman's class. So after that, before break, I also attended a Henry County Board of Supervisor meeting, and they approved the TIF district for the Hershey Hall redevelopment plan. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on. John and Mike also attended it with me, so we were represented there at that. And that's everything from me.
I appreciate you mentioning that, Derek. We were actually able to meet the developer and spoke with the developer who's going to be developing the housing in the former dorm areas. So it was we had a very good conversation with him.
Moving on to consent items, personnel and open enrollment. We can take that as one item or separate items. Motion to open.
Also, both of them.
Second?
I'll second.
Jessica, roll call?
Lenz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Ustiga. Yes.
We had no unfinished business, so we're moving on to new business. We need to consideration to set a public hearing date for the Howe Activity Center rooftop unit replacement project. That would be set for our school board work session, Monday, the 27th, and that piece would be at 6:02.
So I pulled up the schedule for the RTU replacement at the student activities building. How the idea would be to have the public hearing on the 25th, a pre-bid conference on site on February 10th. February 20th would be the bid opening. March 3rd, the beginning of construction, and then a June 23rd date for substantial completion. So I would recommend that you approve the public hearing date for Monday, January 27th, 6:02.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Jessica, roll call?
Lenz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration to approve modified allowable growth requests for at-risk and dropped out.
Okay, so as I mentioned in the legislative update, this is the modified supplemental amount that we can request. It's not cash, it's spending authority. And so based on our students, the amount that we can request this year, I think I told you it was 330,000 in those notes. That was for the year that we are in. This year is for fiscal year, this number is for fiscal year 26. It's 343,000 of modified supplemental amount, spending authority. It is not cash. And again, the lion's share of those dollars that we spend are on our alternative programming, our ACE room here at the high school, and our IJAG programs.
Motion to
I'll move
approve.
to approve.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Flint,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have the first reading of Board Policy Series 800, Buildings and Sites with recommendations to post changes.
Okay, we had significant discussion regarding these policies at our policy committee meeting last week. The idea is this: over the years, Mount Pleasant's school board policy numbering system it doesn't correspond with the Iowa Association of School Boards numbering system. So when the School Board Association gives us an update on a policy, and they might say, we're updating policy 806.3. So what I then have to do is I have to look at that 806.3, and then I have to go to our policies and find, okay, where is our policy that says the same thing as the one that they're doing the changes to? So I talked with Jessica at length about this, and what we would like to do, what we're recommending doing, is series by series. We review 3 series every year. So we'd like to start tonight with the 800 series. I reviewed all of our policies in the 800 series, and I reviewed the School Board Association's reference manual policies. And so our current policies are contained in these policies that are from the reference manual, and obviously they have the correct number from the reference manual. So we're not changing things regarding these. There were some language updates, but I'm asking you, recommending to you to adopt the Iowa Association of School Board 800 policies as they relate to the policies that we already currently have in place. So my recommendation to you, and I sent those out to you a week ago so you could look at them. We discussed them at the site committee meeting this past week. And so unless you have further questions, my recommendation would be that in order to align the Mount Pleasant Community School Board Policy Series 800 with the IASB Policy Reference Manual 800 series, I recommend the following: delete or discard Mount Pleasant Community School District's current 800 series and adopt the following School Board Association Policy Reference Manual policies and numbers for the 800 series. That's my recommendation.
Is there a motion to approve the first reading of Board's Policy Series 800, Buildings and Sites with these recommended changes?
I also move.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? Jessica, roll call?
Lentz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we're moving on to retirement. So we have the first reading of a new board policy 40703, licensed employee retirement.
Okay. So 407.3, President Blint, this number does correspond with the Iowa Association School Board, the reference manual. This policy, in doing the review for the early retirement employee policy, our legal counsel recommended while the licensed employee retirement policy is not a mandatory policy, our counsel recommended that it's a good idea to have in place a policy that really frames employee retirement for both our licensed employees and our classified employees. So that's what this policy does. It really frames, okay, if I'm going to retire, these are the steps that I need to take. At any time if I'm going to retire, and this is the policy which would apply to a licensed employee retirement. This language is straight from the School Board Association reference manual. This is not something that our attorney gave to me or that we developed. This is from the School Board Association manual. I would recommend that you approve the first reading.
Motion to approve first reading of board policy 40703, licensed employee retirement.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Lentz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have new board policy 41302, classified employee retirement.
Okay, and again, this number does correspond with the policy reference manual. Same thing. It just frames up for our classified employees, if you're going to retire, these are the steps that you take, and this is the policy that applies. I would recommend that you approve first reading.
Motion to approve first reading of new board policy 41302.
Also move.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Lentz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
So next we have consideration to approve the new board policy 40706, employee early retirement.
Okay. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of background here and history on how this has come to you tonight. For the last number of years, in our conversations with the Mount Pleasant Education Association, they have asked for some type of policy, something that was set up that would compensate people who are going to have a bona fide retirement. They would be compensated for their unused sick leave. The idea would be a couple of things. One would be you're honoring that person for their years of service. And then the other thing is, rather than just have outstanding unused sick leave days that are, well, use it or lose it, I'm not going to get anything for them. The idea would be to incentivize staying in the classroom, and so that you could be compensated for those days, those sick leave days that you don't use. So I'll go through this. I want to go through it with you and some of the particulars of it. So the school district offers an early retirement plan for eligible employees and eligible employees eligible under the early retirement plan when the licensed employee, I'll need to change that, Angie, so we would approve it. Yeah, it just says what with the employee, because we have both classified and licensed in this, so we would approve it with the change. The employee is at least 55 on or before the effective date of retirement for the current school year, completes 15 years of service as an employee of the school district prior to the date of their application, submits an application to the superintendent's office by 4 o'clock on the first business day of March, written resignation with the application effective at the end of the year, receives board approval for participation in the early retirement plan. Some of the language there: approval of the board, approval by the board of the employee's early retirement application shall constitute a voluntary resignation. Approval by the board of the employee's early retirement application will also make the employee eligible for disbursement of the early retirement incentive. Failure of the board to approve the employee's early retirement application will make the employee's current contract with the board continue in full force and effect. So, some of the details. Any employee, as defined above, who has worked at least 15 contracted years, of which 10 must be consecutive years for the Mount Pleasant Community School District, is age 55, will upon retirement be paid as follows: licensed employees, $70 per day, classified employees, $50 per day, for the number of accumulated sick leave days the employee has at the end of that year, up to 125 days if the application for retirement is received by the first business day in March, in the March deadline. So the $70 per day, if an employee had their maximum of 125 accumulated days, the simple math there is $8,750. Classified employees at $50 per day is $6,250. The rest of this talks about the board has complete discretion to offer or not offer this program in a given year, and that the board will make its decision annually to offer this or not to offer it at the August board meeting. The offering of an early retirement incentive during a particular school year shall not be construed as a continuing offer of such incentive in future years, and the board reserves the right to amend or revoke. The board has full authority as far as eligibility, if there are questions of eligibility of this policy. The idea of this, again, lots of conversation at the committee meeting. Jessica and I discussed this at length. The idea would be to honor the people for their years of service and to incentivize those unused sick leave days, which are not incentivized at all currently. So my recommendation would be to approve this policy on a first reading, to waive the second reading so we can get this in place and allow anybody who was planning to retire upon a bona fide retirement be able to access the plan.
And then moving forward, this would be on the agenda in August for future school years. So is there a motion to approve new board policy 40706, employee early retirement?
Also move with the word change and the second reading.
Second?
Second.
Any other questions? Jessica, roll call?
Lent,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration to approve transition assistance program, the TAP contract amendment.
Okay, I'm gonna have Dr. Butler talk just a bit about the TAP program, and why we're doing this amendment. And then we can talk about any particulars that you have questions on.
It's actually a Transition Alliance program. It's a position that we added, this year was the first year for it, or last year was the first year for it, this is the second year for it. It's a position, we partner with Iowa Vocational Rehab, position to support students that have an identified disability in getting them access to support services and preparing them for the workplace, preparing them for work readiness skills, getting them back into the workplace, figuring out what they want to do beyond high school and getting those experiences for them. So we've had someone in that position, that person has resigned, and so now we're looking to hire that position again. We wanted to come at it from a bit of a different angle. And before it was an hourly paid position. This time we're coming at it from the position of salary position with an expectation that the person has a degree, 4-year degree in either education, social work, or counseling, something in that related field, with hopes that we can really start to build those community outreach relationships and get some community providers really involved in the work that we're doing with our students.
So as Dr. Butler mentioned, the change in the budget was that we would like to move from an hourly position to a salary position. I would mention to you as well that this position is it's 50% funded by the state of Iowa through Iowa Voc Rehab, and 50% is local. And this individual is working, would be working specifically with special education students. So this would be part of our special education funding. So the total, the budget change, the 50% for both entities would be $47,713.98. And Dr. Butler, you have, the position is posted and you've got some
The position is
applicants.
posted, I think we've got, last check, 5 or 6 applicants already, so fairly confident we'll get somebody hired.
And then the requirements for the position are year-round.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Butler? Motion to approve the TAP contract amendment?
Also move.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Lent,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration to approve the chapel HVAC controls package.
Okay, we received 2 quotes for the controls package at the chapel. The controls package, right now, the equipment is fine. The equipment works. We can only manually control it. We don't have, Chad does not have the ability to control the HVAC remotely. And so when we have an event there, he has to be there, whether it's too hot, too cold, and make those adjustments. That was one of the things that you know, as we made the purchase, they didn't have controls that we were going to be able to use at the chapel. So this would control all aspects of our HVAC. Again, we did have 2 quotes. This is from Northwest Automation, which I'm recommending to you. The difference in the quotes was $14 on a $47,000 bid for these controls. But this will get us, Chad was at our meeting last week, and this will get us what we need to control the HVAC at the chapel. We recommend you approve.
Motion to approve the chapel HVAC controls.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Blend,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes. Next, we have our favorite topic of insurance renewal. This is the consideration to approve central campus insurance renewal.
Okay, and so as you guys remember, it was a year ago when we took possession of Central Campus. Our property insurance, we had discussion about this again at the committee meeting. The three buildings that are covered for property insurance are the Howe Activity Center, the Student Union, and the chapel. We don't have property insurance on the other buildings. We do, however, we have liability insurance on the entire campus. So the renewal quote that we received is here. The total there, I've got highlighted, sorry about that, of $223,452. And it actually came down a bit from a year ago. It was $231,000 for last year. And then the liability insurance, slip and fall insurance, if you will, the renewal quote $64.31, and last year it was $7,918 for the liability. So again, as Angie mentioned, insurance, these are management fund expenses that we planned for when we set the management levy rate at the time of the budget. I would recommend that you approve.
I'll move to approve.
Second, roll call.
Blend,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes. And finally, we have a motion, consideration to approve an early graduation for high school students.
Yeah, you've got those, you've got the paperwork in your documents there. Unless you have questions for Mr. Wilson on that, I would recommend that you approve.
Any questions? Motion to approve the early graduation request.
Move to approve.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Blend,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Donnelly,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes. With that, I adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:49 PM. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's 21st at 10 a.m. Simple. Anybody else interested in that? You'll be there?
I missed the question.